Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Lucky Strike's blowing smoke rings at you from the studios of Comfortably Zoned Radio, and it's time for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-host, as always, is Ron Rabinovitz. Ron, how are you?
Good, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, and I know you're excited about the Dodgers getting you Darvish.
Not much at all.
Very good.
Good
answer.
I'm ecstatic.
Good answer. I heard today that he was going to wear number 21, Trace Thompson's old number. Trace is not on the active roster right now. He did not ask. He didn't ask Forsythe for number 11.
Huh. Okay. And he's going to pitch on Friday.
He's pitching Friday against my Mets. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Atlanta, I think. Was it? They said
no, Atlanta tonight.
It'll be
Atlanta tonight. Darvish is going to pitch against the Mets Friday.
The Mets Friday. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
It'll be
well,
fun.
I'm excited because we have a great show lined up tonight on our Brooklyn Dodgers radio network here. We have a guest that has appeared on the show a few times, Dodger historian and author Bill Hall. And Bill has gathered another guest, secret guest, and I'm going to let Bill Hall, after I introduce Bill Hall, I'm going to allow Bill Hall to tell us who our secret guest is. Bill Hall, how are you?
I am great, Peter. How are you doing, and how's Ron?
I'm good, Bill.
Fine.
Thank you very much. We're doing great.
Doing fine. Our Dodgers have won like 100 games out of 102, so we're very, very happy. And,
we're very happy.
Yeah, we're very happy. Now, Bill Hall, author and Brooklyn Dodger historian, you have a friend who is going to appear on the show right now, and I would like you to do the honors, please.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It is an honor to welcome to the show for the very first time a resident of Anderson, Indiana. He is a volunteer firefighter. He has his own lawn maintenance landscaping business, and he's a heck of a nice guy. And most important of all, for our purposes, he is a good friend of one of the most beloved of all the boys of summer, Carl Erskine. And his name is Jim Denny. And, Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bill. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, great.
Very good.
Nice to be here. I appreciate you asking.
Well, thanks. Okay. Well, we all know each other. We've all met each other through Facebook and participation in various Facebook groups, including two that I co-administer, one called Brooklyn Dodgers, the Boys of Summer, the other called Brooklyn Dodgers Nostalgia Society. And at one point, Jim said to me, hey, Bill, if you're ever going to be in this part of the country, come to Anderson, and I can have you meet up with Carl Erskine in person. Now, again, thanks to Jim, I'd already made a connection and had a couple of phone conversations with Carl, but this was just too good an opportunity to pass up. So maybe before we get into what you were talking about, Peter, my visit to Indiana last week and what we saw and what we did, would it be good maybe to hear from Jim for a couple of minutes how he made Carl's acquaintance in the first place?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
So, Jim, set the stage. How did you meet Carl, when, where, and talk a little bit about how your friendship has blossomed.
Well, in 2013, movie 42 was coming out. Around April, they had the premiere week. It was going to be, I think, start on Friday night. But here in our hometown, we were having a special Wednesday and Thursday with Carl Erskine. If you watch the movie with Carl Erskine, you pay $50, and the money would go to Madison County Special Olympics, which he's very, very big in. He's the biggest reason why it's so successful, and he started it. but the money would go to him. He would sign a book that that just came out. It was called Parallel, and it's about Jackie Robinson and Jimmy Erskine's life, how they're parallel. Jackie was dealing with being the only black in baseball, and Jimmy was dealing with being, had the Down syndrome kid in the 60s, which was, unheard of, not normal. He was called mongoloid and all that good stuff. That's all in Carl's book. So I tried to get a ticket, and too late. They went quick. And I used to collect baseball cards when I was my teenage years. I got older and started having a family and kids, and I sold it all to one of my friends. But hearing about this Jackie Robinson Premier Week and knowing what Carl Erskine was, I called one of my friends who mows the condos next to the condos that I was mowing. His name is Dave. He's a fireman, which I'm going to have to correct Bill. I'm sorry, Bill, but you introduced me as a volunteer, which we all need volunteers.
You're a paid
if it wasn't for volunteers, I'm paid. Yes.
My apologies. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, yeah, set the record straight. Yeah.
All right. Well, he's a fireman buddy of mine, and he's mowing the condos next to the ones I do. Well, Carl Erskine lives there, so I didn't know where he lived, but I did call up Dave and say, "Hey, what do you think about me calling Carl and see if he might come up to the fire station the Monday before the big week and talk about the upcoming movie?" And, Dave said, no problem. I got his number, and I called, and Betty answered. And, I've never met Betty at the time. And she got Carl, and Carl came on the phone, and I introduced myself, told him I was a full-time fireman, and I was friends with the guy that mowed his grass, and I mowed the condos next to his, and I asked him, what do you think about coming up to the fire station, having breakfast, and talking about the movie? And, here we are 4 years later. The man didn't hesitate to say no, to say yeah, did not hesitate. It's 4 years later, and to this day, he is the same. He does not like to say no. And, we've talked about that, and he realizes that sometimes, he does do too much, but he said yes. He came up, and the rest is history. I've learned so much about Carl Erskine since then. He explained to me the shot heard around the world. And did I know Carl Erskine was in that dugout? I sure did not. Not dugout, in the bullpen. I did not know Carl Erskine was a pretty big part of the shot heard around the world until he came up and talked about it. He talked about it all. I mean, he talked about what he saw in the clubhouse, and the first three guys that came in the clubhouse, and what they did and what he saw, and he went in so much detail. It was I don't even think we even ate. we just listened. We just listened to him. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And after he left,
Jim, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
And just let's talk about that moment. I think any fan will know, but just to refresh memories, or maybe somebody has stumbled on this program who doesn't know the story. October 3rd, 1951, perhaps the darkest day in Brooklyn Dodger history, other than the day when Walter O'Malley stole the team away. But the end of a three-game playoff series between the Dodgers and their arch rivals, the New York Giants, and Don Newcomb, the ace of the staff, is on the mound. He's gotten tired, and Charlie Dressen decides there needs to be a pitching change, and he has two of his starters, Ralph Branca and Carl Erskine, warming up in the bullpen. And the famous story is that Carl Erskine bounced a curve, so Dressen decided to bring Branca in. He serves up the home run to Bobby Thompson that gives the Giants the pennant. That's the rest. That's history. But why don't you share with us a little bit, because we heard a little bit of it and you shared with me all of this from Carl Erskine's perspective. and what he saw in that locker room afterwards. Because it's pretty dramatic.
Let's see. Yeah, he remembers being the first one in the dressing room, the locker room, after the home run. He was already right there. And the first one that came in was Gil Hodges. Gil Hodges, I'm pretty sure came in quiet and folded his glove, took his glove off, folded his glove, put it up in the locker with no emotion.
Sounds like Gil, doesn't it?
Yep, that's what he explained about Gil. I know I'm right about that one. I know Jackie Robinson came in.
He was not
second.
quiet.
He was not quiet. Carl says what he thinks was his glove and threw it into the metal locker, and he remembers how loud it was. One of the loudest noises he had heard. Dressing, he came in. I'm not sure if he was yelling, but I do know that Carl said that he just ripped his shirt open and buttons were just flying everywhere.
Didn't bother to unbutton it.
No, he didn't unbutton it. And then we talked about, he remembers how Ralph was laying just up on the steps. When it's like laying up on him, up him.
Yeah, we've seen photographs. That is the famous picture, almost like Branca felt like he had been crucified, and maybe in a sense he had been, especially with when what we now know about the sign-stealing operation with the telescope. And poor Ralph Branca, that young man, felt the weight of the world crashing on his shoulders then and there.
Right. That's right.
Yes, he sure did. Poor guy. Carl also has talked about how he feels bad for Clyde Superforth for being pretty much am I right? He was let go?
Yep. The coach, he was the bullpen coach, and he basically had to be the sacrificial lamb for that loss.
Yeah. And he did not, Carl did not bounce that curveball on purpose. It was just, a curveball, I'm sure, is supposed to bounce in the dirt quite often, but he didn't do it on purpose to where he wasn't chosen to go in the game. Carl, I'm sure, was ready to come in that game. It just so happened that Clyde felt like Ralph looked better, and here we are talking about it 60-some years later. I love it. I love talking about it. Even though the Dodgers got beat, I still love talking about it.
And we have vivid stories, vivid memories like this because, thank the good Lord that Carl Erskine is not only still with us in his 91st year. He celebrated birthday number 90 last December, but he is still of extraordinarily sound body, sound mind.
Yes.
He is a very keen observer, obviously, and, I don't know. I get the feeling, I didn't hear him articulate it in so many words, but that God has been very generous to him, blessing him with a good long life, and he still, it's clear that he still has appreciation for the fans, the people who remember him, remember that team, and remember that era. So he is extraordinarily generous in sharing those memories with anybody who asks.
Yes. He's player representative. He was player representative back when he was playing, and he is still player representative. And I've told him several times that that's what I feel about him. He's still around, so he could still be player representative, talking about everybody, giving all these stories and teaching. I mean, that's what he's doing. That's what he's done for me. He's I'm 46 years old. I was born in 1970. That is 10 years after the Ebbets Field was taken away. So, I wasn't even nowhere near around, but I'm not going anywhere when it comes to Brooklyn. I'm always going to talk about this. I love it.
Right.
It's addicting. Very addicting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, keeping the story alive.
I was an Oriole fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, 1970. I grew up a Brooks Robinson fan, my favorite player. And then, you know, when I met Carl, and just when you learn the story of the Brooklyn Dodgers and how close knit they were with the players, the fans, the neighbors, the meat guy, everybody, all the shops, it was just a family, the cops, the firemen. I don't feel like there's any other team that has that type of story. And to know that they're not around anymore, you talk about it more.
That's right. That's true.
Very true. Very true. So I guess let's plunge into my visit last week. You and Kayla, you picked me up, was it last Monday night at the airport in Indianapolis, and we made the journey to Anderson, which was, about a 40-minute drive, so...
Yeah, he actually picked Bill up, and I had a name card made for him. My girlfriend Kayla, we got a blue poster board. She used a white marker, and she put Bill Hall, and the B was a baseball bat, I believe, and the A was, she made it all in baseball figures, Bill Hall, so we had that up in the window so he could see it. Yep. And he said that was his first airport card he ever had.
Yep, and it made it home with me. Luckily, it was just the right size to fit into my suitcase, so now it's proudly on display here in my man cave. Yeah, and of course, the B in Bill is a Brooklyn B. She did a great job just freehanding it.
She freehanded it. I mean, she got some talent.
Yeah.
Great.
So
that's great.
We had dinner that night at the Anderson Applebee's, and, in most respects, it's just like any other Applebee's, but I think there's a couple of special things about it. The table that we sat at, I guess you could call it's the Carl Erskine table, because there are two nice blown-up photos there that... one of them is Carl and some of the other Dodgers taken at Milwaukee, and it looks like the crowd isn't too happy to see them, but it's a good photograph. And then the one above it we had posted in the groups last week. It is a picture of Carl hugging Sal Magley after Sal's late-season no-hitter for the Dodgers in 1956. Now, I believe it was in June of that year that Carl pitched his second career no-hitter, which was against the Giants. And then later that year, with Sal also pitching a no-hitter, it was one of the very few cases, I think, in baseball history where two pitchers for the same team have had no-hitters in the same year. And Carl's got a big old grin on his face, and Sal, well... it seems like pictures of Sal Magley smiling are pretty rare. It's like he always had his same face on, even when he wasn't on the game.
It's a good picture, it is.
Yeah, but there's something even much more significant about this Applebee's. Even in the pictures, for the last 18 years, it has been the workplace of Jimmy Erskine. And Jim mentioned a little bit about Jimmy. Let's maybe talk a little bit more about him here. The Erskines have 4 children, 2 other sons and a daughter. Jimmy was their last-born child. He arrived in the world in 1960, and as Jim mentioned, he was born with Down syndrome, and what Carl talks about in that book, The Parallel, also in another one of his books, What I Learned from Jackie Robinson, really, he draws a parallel in each of those books about how, not only was Jackie the trailblazer, and that really opened the door to changing attitudes in race in American society even far beyond baseball. But, at the time Jimmy was born, I remember him talking about in the book quite vividly how, just the assumption was that, of course, he would be locked away in an institution. And Carl and Betty said, oh, no, you don't. This is our son, and he's coming home with us. And, I think, Jim, I'm sure you'll want to jump in on this, but he has thrived in terms of being healthy, in terms of achieving things, not only in Special Olympics, but just, being able to gain and then maintain a job all these years. And certainly it's got to be, the love and the support that his family has given him that has been a big part of that. So do you want to talk a little bit about Jimmy working at Applebee's? And I know you've spent a lot of time with him at Special Olympics events, served as a chaperone. So let's talk Jimmy for a while.
I'll just explain. We'll talk about a day in the life of Jimmy Erskine. On Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, he works at Applebee's. And Carl gets him there. He's supposed to be there by 9 o'clock. Well, if Carl has something going on at 9, he'll get him there a little bit early because they're just not pulling in Applebee's and letting Jimmy out and saying, "Have a good day, son." There's a little bit more to it. He walks him in, gets him in there in time where he can get clocked in time, and he clocks in on the register, and he uses his own card, and Jimmy actually does it on his own. He swipes it, and he gets all clocked in. And Carl's very adamant about he wants him there on time. So then, after he gets clocked in, he works from 9 to 11, I believe, and he washes tables. He gets tables set for the opening. But Carl helps him get his rubber gloves on. He helps him get his rag damp. Of course, Jimmy wants it more damp than what Carl wants him to have it. But Jimmy likes a little bit more damp, and where he may make a little bit of a mess. And Carl, he's strict, and we got to do it this way, Jimmy. And so he's ready to wipe his tables down. Well, he's also got a little tray that he carries. And if you guys are familiar, I'm sure you are, at the fire station, we have the trays that we put the dishes in, and one of the trays is for silverware, and one of the trays has the end sticking up to put plates in and hold cups in. Well, there's a certain one that Jimmy uses one of those as his working tray to put things in, and Carl brought him out the one that would be for the silverware, and Jimmy noticed right off the bat that was the wrong one, and it was really neat to see it because he's very, very smart. Jimmy is very smart. He has personality coming out of his ears. It's I've been very fortunate enough to, when I was a fan of Carl Erskine, and then when I became friends, I was able to start seeing Jimmy Erskine more, and it's a very rewarding experience every visit with him. That's what it is. That's all I can say. By him, he's an amazing person. He's 57, and he's getting older. As we get older, we slow down, and then add on top of that being Down syndrome, and he stays busy. He's bowling, he's golfing, he's working. Then he goes, after he's done at Applebee's, picked up at Applebee's by the bus, they take him to this place called the Hopewell Center, which Carl started the Hopewell Center, and that is like where they work at, like do crafts, make things. That's very big. The Hopewell Center, they have homes here in town that houses the need. Jimmy, he never had to go stay at one of those homes. He's always had Carl and Betty and family. Well, it's not always the case for everyone. So there's homes all over Anderson, Madison County, that's owned by Hopewell, and a lot of the athletes stay there and live there, and then they're picked up. There's all kinds of volunteers, and so then 2:45 he's picked up by Carl, and they go home. So Carl has dropped him off. He's got from 9 to about 3 to do what he needs to do. And most of the time, it's running. It's not at home sitting around. It's not. I can't tell you when it ever is at home sitting around. He is always doing something. Nice weather, he's probably golfing if he can. He does a lot of golf at 90 years old, which is amazing. So you're going to take a nap when he gets home, try to, because on Mondays he's got golf practice on Mondays. So he'll get from 5 to 6, sometimes 6 to 7 is golf practice. He gets home, he gets a shower, and he's in bed and ready in the morning for Carl to wake him up, get him up, and get him ready for on Tuesday would be going to the Hopewell Center at 8:30, I think it was 8:30 on 8:45. He said he would be there till 2:30 since he doesn't work. Get picked up by Carl, and on Tuesday night I don't think he does much. Wednesday he has a companion that takes him out to eat. It's a friend of theirs. So Thursday, back to Hopewell. Friday, Applebee's. Carl takes him again, picks him back up. So every day, Carl is dropping him off and picking him up every day, Monday through Friday. And then taking him back. Then we got bowling. Very, very busy. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, a very full life for Jimmy, a lot of activity, a lot of variety, and even though his parents are a big part of his life, I imagine it's a real plus that he has the stimulation between these people at Hopewell, the people at Applebee's, and the people he encounters in his sporting activities. He's got the stimulation of a lot of different people, which I think is probably a big plus as well. All right, so how are we doing on time? We're about coming up on about halfway through. So we haven't even
I would like to know, is Jimmy Erskine a baseball fan?
Jimmy Erskine is a baseball fan of the Dodgers. Yes, he is. He sure is.
Oh, great!
That's great. That's great.
They go to Dodger games. Cincinnati every year. It's usually a Wednesday night, Thursday day game for the Dodgers whenever they come. So they always go to Wednesday night, Thursday day. In 2014, I was able to get tickets, and I was just so happened I was right behind them, about 10 rows up, and they were right there on the dugout practically. And his favorite player was at that point was that year Adrian Gonzalez, first baseman. That was Jimmy's favorite player. And it rained, and you saw the whole Erskine family they were able to go down in the dugout into the clubhouse when it rained.
Wow.
Cool.
So
that's nice.
That was neat to see.
So great.
Yes, it is. Because the Denny family didn't. We stayed right there in the rain.
Jim, maybe since we're talking about the Dodgers at Cincinnati and the Erskines being there, why don't you talk about, we shared the story on the page, but a certain current Dodger star who did something very nice for Jimmy a couple of years back.
Yes.
Involving a bat.
Yasiel Puig came over, and Jimmy and Carl were sitting pretty much front row right there on the red side or the Dodger side, and he brought over the most beautiful bat I've ever had my hands on. I actually had it in my hand. It's maroon looking, and then the handle is light brown, and he signed it to Jimmy. He signed it in silver marker, and it was his game-used bat. And it actually was a story. I think there was a story about it. I do believe. I think Bill found that, and the bat is in there, just sitting up in right there. I mean, it's right there where you can just grab it up against the wall at any time.
In Jimmy's bedroom now.
Jimmy's bedroom.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure is. I want to say that was 2015, I believe. I want to say 15.
Okay.
Yeah, very neat.
So,
very neat.
Yeah.
I heard that Carl got a hole-in-one the other day.
Well, actually, a couple of years ago, right?
It wasn't the other day, but it was. It was a couple of years ago. He was with Yep, his good friend Jumpin' Johnny Wilson that he grew up with, and they were golfing together, and he got a hole in one, and they gave him a plaque that had the scorecard on it, all the scoring. It had a tee. It had the golf ball, and he's got it in one of his rooms in the basement. Well, when you're on eBay and when you search Carl Erskine, you get everything that's put on eBay under Carl Erskine's name or the Erskine name itself. Pretty much, it pops a notification up, and you look at them. Well, there was this ball marker from Scotland, and Erskine is a town in Scotland, I do believe, and it was the Erskine Golf Club. It was something Erskine Golf Club. It was about the golf course, and so I ended up purchasing that, and I thought I was probably just going to keep it, but when he got the hole in one at Applebee's one day, I handed it to him and gave it to him. He had that hole in one. Well, he put that on. There's a platform on that plaque that's on the wall to hold the golf ball. He's got it sitting, the golf marker on that plaque.
Nice.
That makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. That makes me feel good.
Jim, and I wanted to thank you too. This is Ron for giving me
Ron.
Carl's number. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, you're welcome.
Great.
I'm doing great. Good talking to you.
It was. Thank you. You too. And it was wonderful talking to Carl and having a nice visit with him about Jackie. It was really good. I thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, Ron, do you want to talk about your conversation with Carl and the things you talked about and reminisced about?
Well, yeah, that would be fine. I mean, I just thought it was so amazing how sharp he was and how he was with it so well. I have that book that he wrote about his friendship with Jackie Robinson, and I think it's one of the best books I've ever written. I read. I mean, it's just fabulous. And I was telling him about that, and he was telling me about Jackie and what he went through, and I told him some of the stories that I experienced with Jackie, and I read him some excerpts from some of my letters that I received. And we had a wonderful, wonderful conversation, and he was just so delightful to talk to, and he kept thanking me for calling him, and I was the one wanting to thank him because he's the guy that I admired, you know. It wasn't me. So what a gracious man. What a great man. But thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Talk about absolute pure class.
Yeah, I know. I have experienced the absolute pure class myself when I called him cold as an ice cube. I called him out of the clear blue sky. I got his number from Ralph Tycho, the producer of our shows, and I was nervous. I kept putting it off. And I called, and Betty answered, and she said, "Who's calling?" And I said, "Peter Trunk." And instead of saying, "Who?" she said, "Okay." And she said, "Carl, Peter Trunk is on the phone." And Carl got on the phone like he knew me already. Yeah. And I explained who I was and what I wanted. I wanted to interview him and stuff, and he told me that would be perfectly fine, and that we made a date and a time, and he said he had to drive Jimmy to work. And I said, "Yes, I know. Okay, fine." And he said, I can call this number at a certain time. I think it was 9:30 in the morning or something, and at a coffee shop right by the place where Jimmy works. And we had this wonderful conversation. And Carl Erskine, believe it or not, was the first fella to actually call me a Brooklyn Dodger historian.
Wow.
And then, of course, he said, we're all historians as we get older, and we're the fans of the team and stuff like that. But Carl Erskine actually gave me the guts to refer to myself as a Brooklyn Dodger historian. Because if Carl Erskine said that I was, I am.
That
so
is like
when I meet people, when I'm wearing my Brooklyn cap or my Brooklyn uniform, one of my flannels, and I'm in the store or in the mall or whatever, and some old guy stops me and whatever, and I tell him about this show, and I tell him about BrooklynDodgerMemories.com, the website that I run, and this and that, and he said, wow. They'll always be like, wow, I didn't know anybody was still interested in that. And I tell them that I'm a Brooklyn Dodger historian. And I don't say it with any compunction anymore. I never get embarrassed because Carl Erskine gave me the right to say
that is exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
Love that.
So great.
Yes, I do.
So great.
I do too.
What a terrific guy he is.
Does Carl have a lot of memorabilia in his house?
Well, no. Yeah, that's funny to ask. That's how I actually started my memorabilia collection. In 2012, he got rid of a lot of stuff to a place called Sports Investments out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I do believe there's the Pete Rose Museum is in that same building, connected to their card shop. But the 41-92 ball is, I think the Corvette is in there. But they have a huge memorabilia shop. You can look them up. Scott and I want to say Kevin, but they actually called up Carl and asked him if he was wanting to, part with any of his memorabilia. I'm not sure how if they just call somebody like that, or if there was the word was that he was going to do that. I don't know, but Carl did part with some stuff, and I met him in 2013. So, like I say, as soon as he left, I had never even been on eBay before, ever, until, as far as baseball items, baseball cards, it was always other stuff. So I really didn't know what I was looking for, and I do know when I was, born in 70, I started collecting baseball cards in about 77, 78, and at that point, Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle, and they were gone, but you learned about them by books, and they would always make baseball cards, even though they were retired they could have been passed away for 20 years, but there was always still cards made of players like that, and you learned about those players because of that. So I realized that Carl Erskine was in the same sets, rookie-wise, as Mickey Mantle.
Right.
Like, wow, I did not know that. So it just took off, and I've got so many items that he sold to that guy. I've gotten a lot of photos that Bill Hall saw. He had a lot of photos in his 10th Street home in his den, the home from the Roger Kahn book, and he had laminated them, put an adhesive on the back of them, and covered this wall in original photos. And a lot of those photos that Bill had been sharing with you guys are those photos. You just can't tell they've been laminated and all that good stuff.
Right.
And on the back of them, he has written on some of them. He has explained what the picture's about. Like with the photo that he was getting a check for. That was a $500 check.
Right.
From Mr. O'Malley, and he explained it. He wrote down every person that was in that photo. Now, some of them he didn't, but, like his June 10th, 1955 home run when he was coming in the dugout. He wrote on the back of it, the score, the win, the shutout, and but that's all his. You can tell it's his writing, and I got photos. I got a couple baseballs that he had had for 60-some years as a 48 team signed ball, and his May 17th, 1953 one hitter. It was the last ball, the last out. Jackie Robinson fielded it. He was playing first base because Gil Hodge was slumping, so he wasn't in, and so Jackie at first. He fields it. Carl covers first, gets the last guy out. A one hitter, Gus Bell, 16 bunts. Jackie and Campanella and Erskine, they couldn't get to it in time, and so that was the home run hitter of the team. Gus Bell got a bunt. Well, that last ball, Carl got it from the umpire, and I just so happened I've got it in my hands now, and
wow.
He select it and wrote on there, Crosley Field, May 17, 1953, Brooklyn 10, Cincinnati 0, 20 hits for Brooklyn, 0 hits, or 1 hit for the Red Legs. He wrote under Red Legs. But that
was their name. That was their name.
Yep.
Yeah, they were called.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, Cincinnati Red Legs.
Right.
Yep. Right. So
that's wonderful.
Every
day, you spoke a little bit about eBay, and of course we're talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers. Every day, not 3 times a week, not 5 times a week, 7 days a week, I go onto eBay and I type in at the top Brooklyn Dodger, and I type search, and 30,000 things come up. And and there's another place. I don't put Brooklyn Dodgers with an S because only about 21,000 things come up. But if you put Brooklyn Dodger, 30,000 things will come up. And then I put, because I look at it every day, and then I click on newly listed.
Yes.
And all of the newly listed stuff will come up. Well, I have.
That's the key right there. Yep.
You know, if anybody who really knows me and lives by me and stuff and has seen it, I have all the yearbooks, every single one. I have triples and quadruples of them. I have all of the Dodger cards, all of the cards from Bowman and from Topps, all of them. I got every one of them. I got caps. I got 30-something Brooklyn caps. I got flannel jerseys. I have uniforms. I have all kinds of stuff, Brooklyn Dodgers. I'm totally crazy. In my den, there's a Brooklyn Dodgers banner. The rug that my chair sits on is a Brooklyn Dodger rug. The rugs in my bathroom are Dodger rugs.
I want to visit.
On my refrigerators,
I want to come there too and see it.
There's Brooklyn Dodgers everywhere. In my car.
I want to visit
it never ends. It never ends. And every time I go out of the house, I have, if it's wintertime, I have my Brooklyn Dodger warm-up jackets on. Now I have warm-up jackets from 1951, 1948, 1952, 1955, 1956, 1957. I have all the different warm-up jackets. So, and when it's summertime, I have all the T-shirts, all the, keep the Dodgers in Brooklyn, and all the different T-shirts I have. I have everything. Everything is Brooklyn Dodger. It's absolutely crazy, and I'm known for that throughout my family and my friends and stuff. And they just shake their heads and smile because I also, I also am a model train nut. So I've never really grown up. I've kept my 10 or 12-year-old brain in sync all these 70 years. And so I know all about Brooklyn Dodger things. I have Duke Snider baseballs, and I have the I just have everything from Duke Snider's burial. I have the last rites thing from the priest. I have I collect everything Brooklyn Dodgers if it's not too dear. I never spend a lot of money. I look at things, and I'm patient. And if they run out and no one buys them, usually that person will relist them at a cheaper price. And sometimes I'll email the person and say, look, I'll give you so-and-so for it, and he'll either say no or say yes. So I've gotten a lot of things like that too. But Brooklyn Dodger memorabilia,
I think Carl's memorabilia. Sorry.
Well, I have like I said, all the cards, all the bubblegum cards, and all the yearbooks. So I have, Carl Erskine is well represented, believe me. And I have a Dodger jersey with number 17 on it, but that's actually from L.A. and it's not really Carl's. It's the guy who wore it after him. I don't know, Pachorik or somebody. I don't know who it is, but it is a Dodger with the 17. But I collect all of that stuff. And
Carl didn't keep any of the uniforms, and he has mentioned that he wishes he would have because he sees what it is worth, but he didn't keep all that stuff. He didn't tell me where it went, but he does have his 1954 All-Star Game gift. It's a brass bowl. What it is? Oh. That's what he got. Like Ned Garver got a clock. My buddy Ned Garver, he got a clock in '51 starting pitcher. And Carl in 54 got a brass bowl, and it's on display downstairs in the basement. He's got scrapbooks that his mom kept all clippings of everything Carl Erskine all over the years in Anderson, Indiana, or if she got it from New York, whatever paper, every single clipping.
Wow.
His father put it on a board at the factory that he worked at, so he had stuff on display for Carl too. But all the clippings, and many years ago, someone put scrapbooks together, and he showed me one day, and the one that he pulled out was from 1953, and whoever put them together was from opening day or maybe spring training all the way through in order, perfect order. And he was just going through there. My mouth's melting, you know. He has no idea. But he gets to the World Series and all them photos of the Game 3, all the photos that you've seen from Game 3, 1953, 14 Ks. They were all there, original newspaper clippings right there, and that was just one of them. I mean, you know, he's got 48 all the way to 59, and they were all put together, all in that drawer right under that glass bowl that brass bowl. And then a friend of his, and everybody knows Dennis Bird, Dr. Bird, on the page many years ago, helped him get a Ebbets Field bench seat, original Ebbets Field bench seat on the airplane to Indy, and it's sitting right there, plain as day, in his basement. I've seen it many times. I've never touched it. I haven't touched it. I stay away from it, look at it, but it's in there. It's down there. Very neat.
Like we sit in it and drink a Schaefer beer.
Right. That's right.
Man, I'm sure you wouldn't care if I sat in it, but you know, I'd sit in it at break. I'll just stay out of it. It's very neat looking down there. I'm sure he's got other stuff. You know, like I told Bill, I showed Bill at the hospital, at the bank that he retired from, the bank that his son retired from, all the World Series bats, 50, 1949, 52, 53, 55, 56. He's got all them bats on display. Right now they're not because it's getting moved. All the bats. He's got the strikeout bat from 53, which got 14 holes in it, with, you know, Collins 4 times, Mantle 4 times.
4 times.
That's funny.
Yes. You know, he's got all that. He's got an original uniform. He's got a glove, a ball. He gave the Hall of Fame the baseball from the 53 World Series Game 3. He gave it to him. Like, as a matter of fact, we talked about the Hall of Fame, and he said, Jimmy, you know, you say you're never going to sell any of that stuff. What do you think you're going to do with all that stuff? You know, it's time to, you know, you got to think about what are you going to be doing with it. You know, he goes, you ever thought about giving that to the Hall of Fame? I said, well, no, Carl, I haven't, but you know, now I have. Now that he's mentioned it, Carl Erskine wants me to give something to the Hall of Fame. I'm giving him something to the Hall of Fame. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
He doesn't talk about it. So, yeah, the Hall of Fame will be getting some things. And I would say the Hall of Fame will probably be getting his original stuff. I would say that I've got his original stuff.
Well, you tell Carl that whenever he wants to get rid of some stuff that he doesn't like, box it up and send it to Peter Trunk in East Brunswick, New Jersey, and I will more than gladly be in receipt of.
That's great. It's been fun.
It's been fun. To send him this direction to Oregon.
Oregon.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll filter it all out and I'll edit everything. So send it all here first, and then I'll be able to go through it, because I don't want you to hurt yourself or, you know, break something or anything like that.
That's great.
And I'll get an envelope from Peter, and it'll say, "This is a genuine dust particle from Carl Erskine's home."
There you go. Well, look, Bill, I'm the oldest. I should get first dibs, right?
There you go. Okay.
No, I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest.
Oh no! You got to send it all to Ronnie. Oh no!
Okay.
Hey,
Well,
Ronnie,
listen.
I do have a Jackie Robinson autograph.
Uh-oh.
It's on that 1948 team baseball that I've got that Carl had.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous.
There's just two clubhouse signatures, and that was Gil Hodges and Pee Wee Reese. That's what PSA said. So now I don't know if the Brow was signing in 48. When did he start?
Oh, Jackie in 47.
No,
Brow,
Charlie
the Brow,
Charlie the Brow.
Charlie D. Giovanna.
Yep.
Yeah, when did he start? What year?
You know, that's a very good question. I'm going to guess 50 or 52. I don't know.
Okay, so it wouldn't be his clubhouse signature then, because this was 48.
No, it would not be his signature. He did, however, go to Los Angeles. Charlie D. Giovanna did make the trip out to Los Angeles. He died in Los Angeles.
Wow.
As a young man, yeah.
Wow.
He did.
Wow.
He was a young man, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was a young guy. He was in his 30s. He was the oldest. He was the most famous bat boy in the history of baseball. I mean, when the Dodgers won the World Series in 1955, he got his own convertible to drive in, to sit in the back seat with his uniform,
No
sitting in the back, waving to people. They misspelled his name on the side of the car, but that's all right. Listen, do we have any other stories? We're getting towards an hour. Do we have one more story? If we don't, I would like to invite both of you back. And if you can't make it next week, we'll talk online or Messenger, and we'll message each other, and we can make it for some other time. But I don't think we're totally finished talking about this, you know?
No, because we have to talk about Jim and I sitting down with Carl for about 90 minutes last Tuesday morning, and then following him to the retirement home where we were able to do a live broadcast on Facebook of his musical performance, and also where Carl hung the nickname on me, which I will wear proudly for the rest of my life, Big Bill Hall.
Big Bill Hall.
He sure did. He sure did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And then after that, you know, Carl had to go, you know, we had to go separate ways, but Jim took me on the deluxe tour of Anderson and all the historical sites in Carl Erskine's life there. So, yeah, I think we've definitely got another program here. I could do our usual recording time next Tuesday I don't know if that would work for Jim, but
I am actually starting to fire I'm off 6 Tuesdays, and then I'm on 3 Tuesdays, then off 6, on 3. So I start Tuesdays next week.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Sorry.
We'll make it another time.
Well,
that's all.
Yeah. Let's talk. Let's work that out offline, I guess. Huh? I'm sorry.
You can make it a different day or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll definitely.
We can make it. We can make it a different day. And you know what? You know what we'll do? We'll do this off the air. We'll do it instant messenger or whatever, so we don't bore our audience anymore with that. But I want to thank both of you gentlemen, both Jim Denny and Big Bill Hall, and of course my partner in crime, Ronnie Rabinovitz. And we had a really good show. We talked a lot about the Dodgers and Carl Erskine in particular, the Dodgers in general, Carl Erskine in particular, and we learned a lot of stuff and had a great time. I thank you all for participating and for being gentlemen, as you all are. And until the next time, I bid you a fond good night and farewell. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It was fun.
Bye.